but all I have this labeled is bow sword.
Wild.
So
Wild,
this is what we are dealing with. Is from what I can tell, like this piece here is obviously this little stabby piece here. So what happens is these blades fold down and become the arms of the bow.
Yes.
Now the problem with that is it doesn't work as a normal draw bow because the blades wouldn't bend.
Sure.
So the only thing I can think of is that this is going to be some sort of like hand crossbow.
Or yes, it could be a crossbow.
Like the mechanisms are all inside here is the only thing I could think of when I first saw it. Right?
I was honestly thinking it was like a magical string.
Oh,
Like the string was literally like apparated there when you turned it this direction, and so the blades don't need to bend. It's just the string stretching.
So the weird thing is, like, we look back here, right? That's a very weird type of handle, for sure, right?
I wish I could see the other side of it to see what was there.
And I really want to know what this like cross guard is, but I also look at it too, and I can't tell if that's supposed to be like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It kind of looks like that's where you're supposed to draw your fingers.
Yeah.
And then I'm not really sure what this is.
It looks
like that's
it looks
charger.
depth. Yeah.
It looks like this is what you pull back because it looks like inside there.
It does
right?
look like a crossbow.
So it looks like you're like charging this back into here and then through here. But either something shoots out or you charge this back and then slam this forward and this thing shoots.
Yeah. Maybe there's like a rope
out.
attached to it and you can actually like reel people in or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, the blades folding down don't do much for it. And so, I mean, you could still get some slashing, kind of like what is that, the batleth? Honestly, what this looks like out of D&D context, this almost looks like an attachment to like a Gundam. Like that doesn't look like a handle so much as it looks like an insert.
Interesting.
Like instead of a Gundam, like you would take off the Gundam's hand, and insert that into the forearm part. And as it slices, it can also do this thing where then it shoots something and then comes, and then it slices back down.
I kind of like that. Imagine if that was like a, what's his name? Captain Hook's hook. It's like it's just a little prosthetic.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
If we even like shrink this, because this doesn't have to be like a full ass sword. This could be almost dagger sized.
Okay.
Yeah, and you could have this just like as like a little attachment where, it doesn't have, like this thing doesn't have to be like 6 foot tall, big. This entire sword could be like a foot long, and then it just opens up. You just shoot it across. So this could be like a single, like a bolt, or this could be like a throwing dagger. Like this could be the size of a small throwing.
You just get specialized throwing daggers. That would be sick. Easy.
So I like that idea of at least short sword or smaller for sure. I'm thinking even short sword or even like dagger size.
Be large dagger. Are we fairly solidified that we want this to be a prosthetic of sorts?
Not necessarily a prosthetic, but I'm thinking just not like a huge ass weapon at this point. I don't mind the idea of doing a prosthetic.
Okay.
Even if this was like, so I would say either prosthetic, handheld, or even like an armband weapon.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like you could like have it like slide out and then it would open up, you shoot it, and then it would close back, and then it's just another slash.
Interesting.
So kind of just like a one-shot wonder is what I'm thinking. But I'm trying to get to the closest to like a smaller size that you could carry like on your arm like that.
Sure.
So I think you'd have to probably just call it a dagger or a short sword, and then the smaller one like a throwing knife or a kunai. So like trying to look at like real life size, like obviously that's about the size of a hand.
Sure.
And then again, size of your hand, and then a little bit about maybe about twice the size of your hand.
Sure.
So that's I think what we're shooting out of it.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
So like if the kunai is a little bit smaller than that, it would probably be between a sax and a short sword is what the whole thing is.
Got you.
But I would feel like calling it the sax would make it more likely to be on your arm.
I agree.
But
I agree, and I definitely believe that there are
the mechanics. It's probably just going to have the abilities of short sword.
Sure.
And then it transforms to shoot the kunai once.
Okay.
I don't mind it because we were talking about how it has like rail system in here. I wouldn't mind if that like how this has this like armband. So if this is something that straps here and that armband would kind of come across here, I don't mind it where it's like a blade. But when you want to shoot it, you can shoot it one of two ways. You can like charge it and then just shoot the once and then go back to blade mode, or you can charge it, hold on, And then what's inside that is actually the rope. And you can basically try to use it as like a grappling hook. And then you use that thing to like have it reel, almost like help reel you in, or just be able to like instead of it holding through your arm, you can actually have
especially if this thing is like strapped on my arm. I'm thinking, what would stop me from putting some sort of bandolier type thing over top of it to like feed it new daggers?
I think at that point it would just be cumbersome and weighty. I think that would be, in my opinion, it would be
even those first ones that you showed on there, those like
I just think the mechanism, in my opinion, the mechanism would make it bulky and weighty.
Perhaps.
I think the idea of making this like an Assassin's, like kind of like Assassin's Creed,
yeah.
but it has just a small one-time shot.
Yeah.
I kind of like that, but
almost
I also
like how those people modify those pocket knives to like fire the blade.
Yes, exactly. But I also like a couple other ideas. So one, you have this blade that you can shoot out. Two, it shoots a secondary where you can choose to have it attached to the rope or just fire it off. This also has the benefit of, if you're just going to fire it off, have it on the rope, fire it in an enemy, and then now you have an enemy on a leash. But I also wouldn't mind giving it another option where when it's open, closing the blade is also technically an attack. So you can open it, fire it, and if someone gets too close to you, get them in, and then have the blade like slap on them.
I like the idea of you keep it in the open position after you fired it, and then you just like melee strike somebody. Maybe your multi-class is a monk or something like that, and then you close it. I don't know if that would be like a reaction.
It would be different extra damage.
Wild. I like it.
So that's I'm actually okay with that. So does it need to be magical? It obviously looks like it's made from like some special materials. I'm thinking mithril is kind of what is the vibe I'm getting.
I mean, I was thinking, I'm thinking there could be lots of different variations.
So we're just
of this
making the
thing.
mechanic. We're not even making a magical item. We're just making the mechanical item, and then it can be imbued otherwise.
It doesn't even have to be magical. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like we're just making the sword that also fires.
We're just making the item itself, the base thing. It's almost mundane. It could be made by any not necessarily any blacksmith. They'd have to have some
this is definitely an artificer.
Logic.
This is bare minimum still an artificer, but it's not necessarily magically imbued. Okay, so with that, it is basically a short sword, a double-bladed short sword. So it does short sword damage and all of that.
Okay,
but the blades can part to fire a single throwing knife or kunai.
Okay.
One of two ways, with or without a rope attached. Closing the blade, I'm thinking closing the blade after while the rope is attached will sever the rope. So as long as the rope is out, the blades have to stay open.
I'm okay with that.
I think that's totally legit. It should be a reaction to open or close it, or should it be a bonus action?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like,
I'm okay with bonus action because it is preparatory for an attack, technically, and it can do damage. So at bare minimum, I think a bonus action makes more sense.
I think a bonus action makes the most sense. I'm trying to figure out how beneficial it would be to do either as a reaction, because it does make sense that whichever one you do, you use it for both.
The only reason I can imagine it being as a reaction is, say you attach it to a person or a thing for like the rope purpose, and that thing goes over a cliff.
Sure.
And it's not your turn.
Sure.
The reaction to sever it would be nice, because if I can't sever it, then I have to make the contest to go with it.
Sure.
So my only thing would be a reaction to close it in order to sever it, but I totally get a bonus action to open it. This thing, I'm pretty sure you'd be like pulling back on that to charge it open or something, right? Like this is probably more like a crossbow. So at bare minimum, it's going to take more than just you flicking your wrist. I think there should be a justification that like you have to pull back on this black handle to charge it. Bare minimum,
you have to pull back on it
to open it up. So I'm okay calling it a bonus action to charge it, at least to open it and get it ready. But again, a reaction as in you just hit a button and it snaps shut, right?
So it's almost the opposite of most pocket knives. You can open it stupid fast, but then you have to like push the little tab on the back to like close it down.
Yeah, this would be the opposite. It sounds like it would sound complicated.
It doesn't, because like imagine if this action here is like pulling it back behind some tab or lever that enables it to, when you press it, it shoots back forward. This pulling it back is what's pulling it under tension.
Yeah.
And then
there's two types of tension. There's the tension for the kunai, but the tension for the blades.
Yes.
So that's why it's a bonus action, because you're technically pulling back two tensions, but not as much as, say, it's an obviously better mechanism than a crossbow, a grip.
Something, yeah.
But yeah, I'm totally cool with having this be like an attached short sword that as a bonus action, you can charge for a single shot kunai that may or may not, you can choose to have a rope on it. I would say like limitation is the rope can only hold, since it's a thinner rope, like maybe double your weight. So then you can justify like holding onto a person and then maybe swinging yourself with your gear.
This is your Batman grappling hook.
So I also like, if we wanted to write small little things like, it can handle twice your weight or a creature of equal size. And then reaction to close it. And like you said, doesn't need anything magical. Like why not just create a mundane item?
Yeah.
If it wants to be magical, just swap that, swap it out with an actual gem and say the gem does something magical.
Sure.
Right. But yeah, so yeah, I like this. I like the fact that it's not like a magical weapon, but being made from an artificer, it just has magical-ish components.
Right.
More for just how it's built. But otherwise, I love that. I love the fact that it's a sword that can shoot and can snap on somebody. You know what I mean? Like that's at its core, that's all it can do. But that's dope. Fair. That's fucking dope. Dude.
Should it have any specific features when it comes to like snapping clothes? Is there like different damage it rolls? Is there?
Like when it snaps closed?
Yeah.
I would say that the snap cuts its own rope. It can cut other non-magical rope. So like if you can just snap. And just like you would be able to like, you could cut a rope with a sword anyway, right? So I would say that you can cut most things like that. I wouldn't say that it's powerful enough to like break open a door. It's not like the jaws of life.
If it was together in somebody or something and you were trying to cock it, would that be enough to?
I know we said something about like being able to do that like on a crit or whatever, but
like, is that plausible to even try and do mid combat? Is it have enough strength to pull? Like, if it was mid chest, would that work?
That's why I think I would, maybe if it was a crit, maybe if like you critted and it's like, okay, go right ahead, you can do that in an adrenaline rush moment, maybe. You know what I mean? I wouldn't mind doing something like when it's closed, it does like a D8, and when it's open, it does like a D6, because even if it's still the same blade, a blade that you're in control of in front of you as you normally would will act different than a blade that's off to your side that you're trying to.
Which one do you think does more? Oh, you're talking about attacks while
it's open. Like when
your attack action. Yeah.
When it's open and you're doing melee attacks when it's open, I could justify having less damage output.
I would agree with that.
Does like a D6, whereas when it's closed, it does a full D8 force.
Well, with the closing, what die would you give the closing?
The snap, either equal to the 1D6 or even a 1D4. The snap is only as much as the tension that you're not doing anything for it. So really, it's just a combination of the tension against their armor and the potential for them cutting their skin.
Sure.
So you could even just do a 1D4, 1D6, 1D8. So the snap is, as a bonus action, you can do a 1D4 of damage with a snap. If it's open, you're doing 1D6, but you really want it to be doing the 1D8. So it gives you the incentive to keep it closed, but while it's open, it's not useless. And if you do a 1D6 slash and get your bonus action, you're doing a 1D6 and a 1D4.
Sure.
Which then now it turns into now rolling into a 1D8. So it's one of those things where it's constantly being versatile and usable.
I like the cycle that you get with it, a 1D8 while it's closed, then you open it, and then you get a 1D6 and a 1D4. Like that's...
I think those are the right damages. And the kunai is going to be the same. Well, we should look up what's the difference between a crossbow and the kunai. D&D crossbow damage. So a hand crossbow, which is what we're modeling this after, will do a D6, while a light crossbow, something a little bit bigger, will do a D8. So this says that a kunai does a D4 of piercing damage. So I'm okay calling it, if a hand crossbow is a D6 and the kunai is a D4, I'm okay calling it a D6 because it's basically just a kunai coming out of a crossbow.
Yeah. Okay.
So pretty versatile weapon, can be used by most classes, but I think there's definitely a few classes that would much more benefit from it.
Sure. Yeah, and I do think there's a lot of very, very cool things that it can do. Cool combinations, cool. I feel like it really gives an opportunity for people to be creative with it. And the fact that it is a fairly diverse item, meaning like it's kind of uncommon. You can find it places. You could commission a blacksmith to build it for you. Like it's not something that's so unheard of, and it's not just something that one person can make. Like that, I love the fact that it's out there and people can like go and do stuff with it.
Awesome. I love this. I think this thing is absolutely amazing. Interesting. So now we got to come up with a name. Now we have the lore. I mean, what it's made out of, I think, is inconsequential. I don't think it needs to be anything
I just put
special.
various metals.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it would be DM decision if you want to make it special.
Let me ask a clarifying question. Is there anything, say if I use this on a person, how are we saying this thing keeps you connected? What's stopping this dagger from just being pulled out of the wound?
Nothing. That would be an action of the, like,
But
if you
what
hit
I
a
mean is,
creature,
like, if I'm trying to hold them there, right, hold them in place,
right,
why is me holding them there not pulling it out of their wound?
you could just put barbs on the kunai. You could just say that it has like, there's like right here, there's like small barbs that come off of it, and just say that it's designed kind of like a grappling hook. It's designed to hook on like the corner. So similar to why you can swing on it.
And that's what I was going to ask.
Essentially, it's like a mini, it's a kunai designed to be a grappling hook. So you could even just say that it has small barbs that if you hit an enemy, you can stick. Okay. And then it takes an action to remove. So nothing special, it just takes an action. Or a bonus action. You can even just yank it out. Does a D4 of damage.
I like it. Yeah, well, yeah. Would you say that that counts as specialty ammo?
I would say for ease of use, I would just say that it can replenish at the cost of a kunai. Like, it's going to cost you, but for ease of it, I would just say that these are easy modifications that anybody can make.
A regular dagger is 2 gold pieces. Now, 1 dagger.
And that same thing, kunais are 2 gold too.
2 gold each?
Yeah. And you can even say 3 gold for the modification, or, you know, whatever. But you can always say you can retrieve these. Like, there's nothing that says
Sure.
I don't know how we would put the language in there, but
no, I get what you're saying. But like,
if you hit an enemy, you're gonna get it back. It's not gonna break. You can take it out of an enemy. If you launch it into the ceiling of a cave and cut it away,
then you launch to the ceiling of a cave.
Yeah,
like,
just go pay 3 gold and get a new one. And what's to say you don't just carry these modified kunai as throwing daggers?
Wild. I like that. I like that a lot. I like it.
But it's also a spare weapon too. I think that's cool. I like that.
I do indeed. So we're saying an artificer created this?
I'm thinking this feels artificery. Slight bits of magic to make you be able to cock this thing a little bit easier, I think, is like where I would go with it.
Okay.
Again, not overtly magical, but longer.
I almost like the idea that perhaps an artificer invented this, but there are plenty of blacksmiths that learned a type of magic that allows them to create something like this.
Well,
like,
and again, an artificer,
that way,
like,
it can not be like solidified. Like,
well, and again, an artificer aren't the only people that can create mechanical things, right? Like, an artificer didn't create the crossbow.
Sure.
So just because I like the idea that an artificer had their hand in this, maybe someone else made it, and an artificer only helped them figure out how to do it to where you can cock it with one hand.
Right.
Maybe that's all they did, but they didn't make it magically imbued. Maybe they tried, and the other person was like, I need this to always work in every condition.
Mm-hmm.
So the artificer gave them all the tools to figure out how to do it, and then they reverse engineered it to do it without magic. Tons of ways that you can lore this in.